What's up guys, DuArktik with another Marvel Strike Force video, and in this video we are back to talk about the Spider Society. We are going to break down all the information that you guys need to know in order for you to build the Spider Society properly without over-investing and get the right value out of them. This is a very powerful raid team, but from my analysis, I think these guys are going to shine also in other game modes like Cosmic Crucible, Alliance Wars, and maybe in the future Avengers Towers. You can also use them in Dark Dimension, and we'll see with this new Battle World coming and the Spotlight raids if they are also going to be very powerful there, if not necessary, right? So once again, we are going to break down all the information that you need to know in order for you to build them properly. This team has a lot of things to take into consideration, including the position of the characters. So it's very important that you are as informed, the best informed possible, so you can use this team to their maximum potential. So as always, if you like information on these videos, make sure you share it to your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe for more Marvel Strike Force content, and make sure you smash that like button like a boss. Okay, before we start, I just want to mention that this team also depends quite a lot. If you're using them on defense, on offense, you want to adapt ISO weight from more skirmishers to more raiders. And that's going to be very important as a whole. And then the characters you have as the strikers, it depends on what you want to do with these characters. Anyway, we're going to talk about that more at the end of the video. First off, as always, you can find all of this information on my infographics, which are available on my Discord for free. And this one is not there yet, but it's going to be very soon, right after this video, and it has all the information, T4s, ISO weight, and so on. Now, let's get started with the T4s. Very important for this team. We're going to start with the Penny Parker. And the Penny Parker is probably the most important character on this team because she provides energy. And depending on the ISO weight you have on her, and depends on the size that you have on her, she might allow your characters to do their ultimates much earlier, even that they usually don't start with energy. But because now she's much faster, depending on the game mode you are playing with them, and depending on the allies, she might allow you to do this. So it's something very interesting about this character. Now, in terms of the T4s, if you do the basic, you're gonna clear more positive effects on the primary target. Definitely a skippable T4, even if you have her as a striker. And many times you actually don't want to remove way too many T4s, or you don't want to do too much damage to the primary target, because otherwise you might not spread the negative effects with Ghost Spider. So this is something to have into consideration, and the bigger your characters are, the more impactful this situation is going to be, so make sure you pay attention to. Now, in terms of the special is going to give you a new function to the special ability, the T4 on the special, which is stun to the primary target. This is a turn 1 ability, and she has a decent speed, so this is definitely a must-have ally for all game modes. In terms of the ultimate, this is more of a raid only ability. Of course, we are going to increase the damage against all enemies, and because we are applying bleeds, this is also going to increase the damage of the bleeds. But the most important is the effect for raids. Apply trauma to the enemies and apply safeguard for 2 turns for self and Spider Society allies. This is extremely important, and it's mandatory for raids. Like, this is unskippable for sure. Finally, we have her passive. Once again, in raids, on spawn, she's going to generate 5 ability energy. Can you play without this ability? Yes, you can, but it's a little bit annoying, right? You have to pay way more attention, and if at some point in time you want to sim with this team, then you need to have this T4. Also, at the end of the turn, you're going to fill the speed bar for 5%. Together with the Pavitre, this is a little bit of a speed bar. They also have speed up quite often. It doesn't make a huge difference, but it's nice to have, right? So if you are someone that cares about simming, this is definitely a nice to have T4. If you really are starved for T4s, this is definitely something that you could skip. You just have to pay attention and play it very well on manual when you do your raids. But these are the T4s for Penny. Once again, special and ultimate. And the passive must have if you have a lot of T4s, otherwise just play on manual the raids and you'll be fine. Okay, Peter B. Parker. Peter B. Parker. This guy is actually very impressive with what he does. The amount of regens and the evades he provides to the team is actually quite impactful. And he also has some other interesting mechanics. Now, with this basic, you can get more regens and more evades to your Spider Society and Spider-Verse heroes. This has some huge value in Dark Dimension together with the other Hero Spider-Verse characters like Gwenom. And overall, it's nice to have, right? It's a little bit of synergies that he has outside of his team. Is this a good T4 overall? In a game mode like Dark Dimension, where you are going to take a lot of turns and you might not have characters that provide you energy, then yes, this would be okay T4. But for the context of the Spider Society, this is definitely a T4 that you should skip. Then you have the special. With the special, you're gonna call Hero Spider-Verse ally to assist with a low speed bar. Depending on the team that you have set up, you can have different characters doing this, but overall this is a T4 that most of the time you can skip. It's just not relevant enough. I did it, I tested it, it's not doing much when you have the full team, so keep that in mind. It's definitely something that you could skip. In terms of the ultimate, now the ultimate is a different story. Apply disrupt for 2 turns, that's always impactful. Apply immunity for 1 turn. Because this is at the beginning of the match, it's very likely that your team will have a safeguard because they get safeguard on spawn or because they get safeguard from Penny Parker. So this is definitely impactful T4 to protect your team from flipping the positive effects into negative effects, applying disrupt negative effects and so on to your team. And you, very important, applying disrupt to your enemies for 2 turns to stop their towns. The stopping the towns is very, very important. Now, moving on to the passive. In raids, apply safeguard to Spider Society. So this is pretty much must have a T4 in raids. If this character has 3 or more Spider Society allies, these characters cannot gain a defense down. So we are doing this T4 just for the safeguard. The other part is not relevant enough. But yes, unfortunately, this is a must-have T4 because on the boss node of the skill raids, you have 2 Spider-Man big times and they'll flip all your buffs. So once again, this is a must-have T4 for Peter B. Parker. So we could do the passive, the ultimate, maybe the special if you feel funky, and definitely skip the basic. Okay, moving on to the next character, we have a SpiderMan India, SpiderMan Pavitra. His basic does more damage if the enemies have slow, 100% skip. The special does more damage to primary targets and secondary targets. It clears 1 positive effect. In raids, this is not impactful enough. On the escape from Calnis was okay-ish option, but overall is not super important either way, even in Alliance Wars or anything else. This is just not impactful enough. The cooldown is also very big, so it really depends on the match and the setup of the team, but once again, in raids, this is completely meaningless. In terms of the ultimate, we consider only this T4 because of this effect right here. Clear the slow from self and all allies. There are specific situations where this is going to be important, but let's wait for those situations to show up. This is another T4 that it can be nice to have, but is definitely not mandatory. It's actually quite skippable when it comes to raids. It's just, once again, on other situations like escape from Kyle Kill or Alliance Wars or Cosmic Crucible or so on. So keep that in mind, not super important. The only good part is that it's not for the team, it's for all allies. So you can use this guy as a plug and play character to save other characters that are going to be exposed to slow. So keep that in mind. And then we have the passive. In raids, if this character has speed up, enemies cannot gain speed up. And the raids, Spider Society will gain 40% crit chance and 20% crit damage plus 100% focus. This is a must-have T4 for raids. There is no escape. You need the speed up and the enemies not having speed up. The crit chance and the crit damage, it's not super relevant. What's really relevant and important is the extra focus. Very, very important. Your team needs this extra focus, otherwise it doesn't work. So once again, for Pavitra, definitely do the passive, and the other one skip maybe the ultimate on very specific situations, maybe the special on very specific situations, but it's definitely not a priority. Now, in terms of Ghost Spider, this is an old character. If you're around when she was released, you probably already have some T4s for her. There are some mandatory T4s for raids, which is the basic. She's going to apply blind and bleed to enemies if they have slow. Of course, it's just one target. If you have her as a striker, this is also going to apply, so keep that in mind. The special attacks more targets. It's irrelevant, this is a very trash ability. It was in the past, it's still trash now. The ultimate is going to spread all negative effects from 3. This is a must-have T4 because you need this character to spread all the negative effects on the enemies. And this is going to include blinds and bleeds and disrupts and so on. Very, very important for this character to spread those negative effects in raids and outside of raids as well. So yeah, definitely a must-have T4 for Ghost Spider. And then we have the passive. Once again, we have specific bonuses for raids, and that's why we are going to do this T4. In raids, she gains 25% more damage. In raids, if this character has 3 or more Spider Society, she gains additional 50% damage. Now, if you are looking at this video in the future, this might be a T4 that you can skip. Once again, depending on the isolate setup that you decide to run with this team, depending if this team is farmable or not, you might actually want to skip this T4. But this is just for something that is watching this video like 6 months from now, when the characters are farmable, because you might not want your Ghost Spider to be the strongest character on the team. And finally, we have SpiderMan Noir. And SpiderMan Noir once again has some interesting T4s. He's also part of the Tangled Web, which is a Cosmic Crucible team, so might have some additional value there. On his basic, the T4 is going to give him evades and regeneration. So this is a skippable T4 because it's not relevant enough. His survivability is fine as it is, so this is a little bit unnecessary, specifically in raids, because these evades do not stack, so having multiple sources of evades sometimes is unnecessary. Then we have the special clear taunt from the primary target. This is extremely important for not only raids but also for Cosmic Crucible Alliance Wars and so on. If the enemies have evade or immunity, you're going to be able to get 50% speed bar, which will allow SpiderMan Noir to have another turn. This can be very convenient if you have him as a skirmisher. And so this is a nice to have T4 if you know how to take advantage of it. Then we have the ultimate, applies 3 bleeds on the primary targets instead of 2. And it also applies a heal block to the primary target and secondary targets. In specific occasions, this is a very important T4. Is it must have? Definitely not, but it's something good to have on your arsenal, once again, if you know when to use it and where to use it. And finally, we have the T4 for the passive. On spawn in raids, fill the speed bar at 25%. This is good once again to remove those taunts using the special early on. And then in raids, gain additional 50% for self and Spider Society. So once again, this is a must-have T4 because you want your raid teams to do as much damage as possible, because that will allow you to save gold, training materials, and also gear, right? If you have the stats coming from the passives, you don't need the stats coming from the gear. So in terms of the T4s for SpiderMan Noir, we are going to do the passive for sure, and then the special and the ultimate, if you know exactly where to use them. Okay, now let's talk about, you can see right here the T4s once again. Greens are the ones for raids, orange are the ones that work in all game modes. But now let's talk about the ISO 8. The ISO 8 for these characters is going to be depending on what you want to do with them, and also depending on the position of the team. If you're going to use the team on defense, if you're going to use the team on offense, then you want different setups. This is going to be specifically important for Peter B. Parker, Pavitre, and also for SpiderMan Noir. On defense, they usually should be raiders. because they attack multiple targets, and on top of that, the AI is usually dumb, right? So you want to make sure that you use these characters as raiders, make sure they apply as many vulnerabilities as possible. So after the characters that really matter, use their isolate attack. The only character that you really need as a striker is Penny Parker, and all the others, they can also be strikers, but it's all optional. So for example, Peter B. Parker, if you have him as a striker, is going to do the basic, and that's going to give you 2 regenerate for 2 characters plus 2 evades, and then it will do it again. Like I said, the evades, they don't add up. The regens, yes, but the evades, no. So keep that in mind. And Pavitr, if he does the striker as a weight, he's going to get a little bit more speed bar. So once again, depending on what you want to do with this team, depending on the overall setup, you could have multiple of these characters as strikers. But once again, if you want to have the most efficient way to play with this team, whether it is on defense, whether it is on offense, or whether you are simming in raids, then you want to follow Penny Park as a striker, everyone else as a raider, and then this girl, Ghost Spider, as a striker as well. And if you're using these characters on offense, then you should use striker, and then skirmisher, because with the skirmisher you can decide where to apply those vulnerabilities and not just rely on dumb AI or RNG in order to apply them. In terms of gold promotion credits, which characters you should invest the most, you definitely want to invest a little bit more on Ghost Spider, so she always assists. This is why it's also important for her to be a striker, so she has the highest base damage. But like I said, if you are watching this video in the future, Penny Parker as a striker, she's always a striker, but you might not have the other characters as strikers, because if she's bigger than everyone else, she's going to be providing so much energy to the team that the team becomes ridiculous. The team with her as the strongest character is absolutely ridiculous. In terms of the other characters, it's up to you. It's not super important to overgear them, as their kits are very strong, but depending on the situation, if your SpiderMan Noir is too big or not, you might have to invest a little bit more on your Ghost Spider, so keep that in mind. Okay, so that's in terms of T4s and ISO 8. Let's talk about position. You want the new characters in the middle. None of these characters have taunt, and that's fine, but they have counter attacks, and once again, the striker has a weight, the counter attacks, the assist, and so on, they provide unique bonuses like additional energy, additional evades, additional regens, and additional speed bar. And this is why you want the new characters in the middle, because you want to increase as much as possible the chance of them getting attacked. So that's why they're in the middle, and the older characters are in the corners. In terms of game modes, the best game modes for this team, the value that they're going to provide, in Blitz they're actually going to provide a lot of value, as you can split this team in 2 or in 3 and help out older characters to succeed, like the Web Warriors. In Arena, at least for now, we don't see any value with them. In Raids, of course, they're going to be must-have because they were made for Raids. In terms of Dark Dimension, you could use several of these characters. You could use one or multiple of them. For example, Penny Parker and Peter B. Parker. This is a very strong duo. But you could also bring Peter B. Parker with SpiderMan Noir and Ghost Spider, as it will be a very powerful trio. Either way, these characters will provide a lot of value in Dark Dimension if you have other Spider-Verse characters to pair up with them. In terms of Alliance Wars, we don't have a lot of experience with this right now, because we don't have access to the test server, but so far this team has been able to defeat on a big punch-up teams like the New Avengers. Yes, the New Avengers, a very powerful Alliance Wars team. This team can actually beat them on a minor punch-up, not like a gigantic punch-up like 1 million, but 200k punch-up. They do it, which is very impressive. So we just have to wait and see how many more teams they are going to be able to beat. And once again, they have synergies as well with other Hero Spider-Verse characters, like the Tangle Web, which are also very powerful. In terms of Avengers Tower, they might have some minor like usage, because they are a strong team for sure, but they don't have like specific strong counters, right? So while they might be used 1 or 2 times, they are not going to be one of those teams that carry you throughout the towers. And then in Cosmic Crucible, similar to Alliance Wars, we don't know for sure where they're going to be useful. They are somewhat useful on very specific occasions, but as the community has more experience with this team and tries out different combos, for sure that we'll see more value in them. Right now they already have some value in Cosmic Crucible defense because of the raid room, but that's not enough. So we'll have to wait and see if people come up with more combos with these characters. But overall, this is a very fun team to use, and one of the reasons is because of Penny Parker providing all that energy and allowing you to use multiple times the abilities of these characters, which I find very, very awesome. And that's going to be all for now, guys. So this is Spider Society. All the information that you need to know in order for you to build them properly. And once again, this is going to be all available on my Discord. Link will be in the description on the video. And as always, if you like the information on these videos, make sure you share it with your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe for more Mouse Strike Force content, and I will catch you guys later.